so happy to welcome my wonderful friend, colleague, and mentor, Michelle Burdo, here to the Serve series. Hey everybody, it's Kristin Fuhrmann-Simmons. And once again, you're joining us on a Friday to learn some actionable tips for your digital marketing strategy. Michelle, welcome. So happy to have you here.
Big air hugs from Florida, Kristin. I love doing this stuff with you.
I do too. I'm so grateful. I have to tell you guys a very quick story about Michelle because she has massively impacted the way that I'm able to show up on camera. And I want to say, was it 4 or 5 years ago that we first met?
You mean when I came up to you and I was like, we're going to be friends forever?
Yes.
Yes.
It was that. I know. And I love that she said
5 years ago.
That was the perfect day because Michelle was speaking at an event where she was sharing about how to look good and sound good on camera. And this was the start of a real use of video on social media. And I was absolutely terrified to get in front of the camera. In fact, I shared with her that I would shake so badly when I would hold my camera that I would end up tilting my phone like this. And I would ramble and speak and go and go and go and end up speaking for 10, 15 minutes about nothing. And Michelle's tips changed my life. And I am not exaggerating when I say that to you. The tips that she shared with me that day, she's going to share some of them with you today, made an impact on me in how I, number one, prepare to get on video. Number two, the way I think about talking points because I had not organized myself before. And number three, the way that I feel about showing up and making sure that my messaging is on brand and really strong. So she's going to be sharing a little bit more about that today. But Michelle, I just want to thank you for that because it really has massively impacted the way that I share not only with my own clients, but how I'm able to show up and share my stories on social media. So happy to have you here and thank you so much.
I appreciate you so much as well. I always think about what we do as being sister traits of you create this wonderful social media strategy, and video is such a large component of that now that all of these tips and tricks just meld so well together. They're married for life because when you are able to look good and sound good on video, you're able to really gain some momentum in social media. And then with all your clients, as you always do, you just take them out to the masses. So kudos to you, my friend, for doing this.
Well, these are the tips, and I want to bring this up. You have an extensive background in broadcast journalism, and these were the tips that you're going to be sharing are things that you used for years to make sure that you were telling a good story, and that's really at the heart of this, right? Is that you want to tell a story and connect with your audience in an authentic way. Can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah, so yes, my background is in broadcast journalism. I got my master's in broadcast journalism at the University of Miami, and then from there I started to be a general assignment reporter, and then eventually an anchor, and I worked at NBC, ABC, CBS, and Fox News. And throughout my journey, you learn how to tell a story on camera. And at the onset of my career, that was a very specialized niche because everyone was like, oh, wow, TV. Well, now fast forward to 2020 and beyond, video, if you do not know how to communicate on video, it's like, wait a minute, how come you don't know how to do this yet? So it really was a convergence of skills that just seemed very natural as it translated into social media, because when I first started my company of teaching these skills, it was really blog posts were king. And now, you know, we fast forward another 10 years and now it's the video post is king, or queen.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, so it really was a natural transition of those skills. And, you know, everything that I teach and I talk about and the things that I'll share today were taught to me by consultants that came into the newsroom and said, you can't wear your hair like this, your lipstick is too dark. So they taught me a lot of how to present yourself better on air. And then the skills that I teach in regards to crafting your story for video is stuff that I learned, you know, through graduate school and then through doing it myself. I mean, my first job, I had the camera, and the cameras weren't small in our hand back then. You know, we had these huge, massive cameras. I'm carrying the tripod, the camera. I would set up my shot. I would run in front of the camera after I got it into focus. I would do my report and then run back around, go back to the station, edit it all together, and then present it live during the newscast that night. And it was just so much work. I remember my mom saying, I can't believe you're working 9-10 hours a day for a minute and a half worth of video. I was like, yeah, that's the news. You know, that's our job, is to condense these really huge ideas into something very simple and clear and conversational for people to understand.
Right, and that is one of the things that you have stressed over and over again, is that clear, conversational, and really connected messaging is at the heart of any really good video. And I love that about you.
Oh, thank you so much. I think that if there's any headline that people take out from these 3 tips that I'm going to talk about with you guys is to be genuine, right? I mean, you're going to mess up on camera, and that's okay. And you should embrace it as a moment to show some levity, that you're human, and that you want to restart your idea. And nowadays, that is a pivotal skill, because live video, and I know you're going to talk about this in your series, but live video, even more so than just video, is really what's going to drive more eyeballs onto your content. So the better and more comfortable you are during a live video recording, or what we used to call in the industry live to tape, or doing it live when you press Facebook Live, that's what's really going to drive people to understand who you are, what your brand is, the service you provide, or the product that you're trying to sell.
Absolutely, Michelle. And I really want to stress this with everybody who's watching today, is that it's important now more than ever that you get comfortable on camera, because video, no matter whether you do it live or you do it pre-recorded, is really what makes the difference in terms of how your audience is able to see your brand or your business. Video really is the thing that is showing up the most in your consumers' feeds. And what I mean by that is that video will show up first. And if you're not there, unfortunately, your business can't be seen. So it's really important that whatever level you are in, that you get as comfortable as possible. So let's jump right in to these great tips.
Yes. Okay. So we were chatting about this before we started talking, that there are so many tips, right? What are the most actionable items that people could walk away from this and say, I'm going to do that after listening to Kristin? So the first thing that we were chatting about was just being prepared, right?
Yes. And I love this. And this is the one thing that I think a lot of people miss. And it's the most obvious one. Getting prepared. You had mentioned a certain percentage that we were talking about in terms of preparation.
So the way that I describe it is you spend 75% of your time getting ready to press record or getting ready to go live, and 25% doing everything else, doing your hair, doing your makeup, putting on your best suit. And there's a good reason that is the stat differential. 75% to get ready and 25% to look polished. And that is because if you do not prepare prior to going live or prior to recording, then I'm just going to be real with you, it's going to be a hot mess. and I think that we have hubris in our society too, right? Like, oh, I'm very outgoing. I'm going to press record. It's going to be fine. I'm going to know what I'm going to talk about. It's going to roll off my tongue. And I'll be the first to say that if you choose that path and then you go back and you say, let me just check this out to see if it felt as good, if it is as good as it felt. And then I bet you that you're going to say, oh, wait a minute, I rambled on right there. I lost myself. How is my audience going to follow that? And you start to pinpoint all these little things. So I really am very strong in the fact that preparation is the best way to feel natural on camera. If you know what you're going to say, if you believe in your content, then it will automatically shine through you, and you are just the conduit of that message. And I think that that is the differential between knowing someone is genuine, is a pro, is an expert, because we live in a day where everybody's an expert, right?
Right, right.
I think that's really the difference, is when you see someone and hear how they speak about the area of expertise that they should have, and you can make your own judgment to say whether or not they are prepared to do X, Y, and Z through that video. So I am really, really strongly a preparer. And it goes back to the story I told you with my mom. Yes, it takes 8 hours to prepare a minute 30 video because you're structuring how the content is going to flow. You're producing the ideas in your mind, whether that's a conversation like ours, or whether or not I'm walking through my factory and giving you a tour, or if I'm in tourism, I'm going to show you the latest spa treatment. I still have to, as the producer of this content, I still have to structure the thoughts and make sure that I have my bullet points intact, so I have a sequence I'm following in my head. Make sense?
It makes perfect sense. And I want to bring up that first time that I went out to camera and I came back to you and I said, Michelle, I felt like a hot mess because I thought that my natural ability to speak in public was going to instantly translate into good skills on camera. I didn't practice. I didn't pull together any talking points. I thought that I could get out there and wing it. And it was a mess and it was terribly embarrassing. And you asked me this very poignant question. You said, did you practice? And I sort of looked away to the side and I was like, I didn't practice at all. You said, well, you must have come up with some talking points, right? And I said, no, I didn't come up with any talking points. I went in with exactly that thing, and you said the word, with hubris, thinking that I knew my business. I thought I knew my audience. I did not practice. But then I added that in. I walked through. I made a point of making sure that I did that run through multiple times, and it made a massive difference, not just only in me staying focused, but me staying calm here, right? Because you know, more than anything, people who are not camera professionals, we get nervous and we get on camera and then we start to talk like this and it's a disaster, right? So the better prepared we are, the more settled we are too. And I think that's a huge point. And I love that you asked me this question because it really pointed out something very simple and actionable that I could do right away, right? It made perfect sense to me. It wasn't anything that was out of my comfort zone.
You know, I think that you really hit home on something in the fact that you took the time afterwards to create those talking points. I want to leave people with how to practice, because it's one thing to say, practice your content, and people could look at you and they could be in a career for 20 plus years, 30 years, and still feel uncomfortable of how am I going to take all this expertise and make sure that I'm connecting with my audience in a minute. It's actually less than a minute. I mean, when it comes to video, depending on where this video lives, it could be as little as 3 seconds to get engagement from an audience, and it could be up to 30 seconds. So headline, you have to engage immediately to get those eyeballs. So how do you practice, right? I mean, it really is something that could be foreign. So what I always tell people to do is take your phone, to find out if you're engaging, open your camera, press record, and talk about your business as if you're in an elevator pitch, right? From the 1970s. We're going back old school. Are you able to talk about your company to a stranger and be engaging about it on camera? So there in and of itself is a very quick exercise to get your practice muscles moving. And after you do that quick recording of about 30 seconds of you talking about your company, look at it and say, would I want to continue this conversation with myself if I was at a cocktail party? And that's how you start to get the cobwebs off of how to practice. You want to make sure that you're engaging, that you're introducing yourself, that you're enticing people with a little nugget about what you do. And then you're moving on in the conversation. And if you're able to do that, then you're light years beyond what most people are able to do.
I love that tip. And that, I think that is a really nice segue into your second actionable idea for the day, which I'm going to talk to me about what it means to transcend the lens, because that's something where I first heard that and I thought, whoa, what is that? What is that all about?
Yeah, there's so much jargon in that. Like these
I love
broadcast
it.
journalists and they're transcending the lens, please. Okay, so here's the nitty gritty about transcending the lens. It is a theory that you need to put into practice, again, to get that full engagement. So a lot of times when we're new to video, I hope we're looking at the camera. We're going to talk about that later, but we're looking at the camera and presenting our ideas to the camera. So the camera turns out to be this very finite object that we're staring at a light. Kristin, how often do you stare at a light and talk to it?
I laugh. I know, not often. Now,
Right.
More of us are online now. We're doing that, because we're on these video calls all day long. But for the most part, we are not doing that. Right. I think you bring up a really good point, which makes me laugh. Yeah.
Right. We'll get into how COVID just threw a wrench into all of this stuff in a second.
Absolutely.
But we typically don't do that. So it seems very unnatural to get up and stare at a light and talk. And not only talk, but to talk in a genuine conversational tone, right? So a tip on how to get beyond that barrier is you're looking at your camera, but you're visualizing beyond that lens, beyond that camera lens, and you're thinking about a person. Your mom, your best friend, your colleague, somebody who you can actually visualize standing behind the camera and you're having a real conversation with them one-on-one. And I know that this tip may sound so simple, like, oh my gosh, Michelle's telling me to transcend the lens with pretend someone's behind it. These skills are taught in graduate school for broadcast journalism. And they flippantly would call it pretend as if you're talking to your mama. And that's more jargon for you. Talk to your mama. And that really always stuck with me because, I mean, how many professionals say talk to your mama, first of all? But
Right.
you don't remember, right? But what it meant was pretend as if the camera's not there. Pretend that your mom is behind that camera. You're looking into your mother's eyes. You're telling her how your day went. You're looking into your mother's eyes. You're telling her about your new product. You're looking into your mother's eyes. You're telling her what happened in current events that day. And it's just hammering home the idea that this is a conversational approach. And I just want to expand with one more sentence on that. We do not know how to write for conversation after we graduate from high school. We do know how to write essays and papers. And if you were to take one of the papers that you wrote and sit in front of a camera and read that, you would not be able to perform it well. Because it's wordy, there's clauses, and we don't talk like that. We talk in simple sentences, sometimes incomplete sentences, sometimes with exclamation points, sometimes with sadness. And that is the energy that you need to focus on for on-camera performances, for content. Even if you're talking about the driest thing, if you connect with an emotion with the content that you're about to express, then you're, again, light years beyond what most people can do. So headline, because I know I went through a lot there. Headline is, don't think you could write a script like you used to in English class and say, okay, I took my 75% prep and now I'm ready to go, because it's not going to work.
Right. I think that you bring up that really good point, because the preparation part is not just scripting things out. It's also getting prepared in being warm and the delivery and making sure that you're connecting, because that's a huge part of this too. The preparation helps to set us up mentally. And I love this phrase, chance favors the prepared mind, right? So that if we're prepared with our talking points, and we're settled with understanding that we are talking to human beings, we're not talking to a piece of equipment, then we can deliver in a calm way, which brings us to our last takeaway for today. So I'd love to have you share that with us.
Oh, this was our makeup tip and how to just look fantastic on camera. So I'll do one for the ladies and one for the men. Actually, I'm going to retract that. Everybody can make mistakes live. I'm going to retract that because this really stands for everybody, and I shouldn't do that. I shouldn't delineate by male, female. When you are about to go live, whether it's for a social media video, for a media interview, etc., you always want to dress on brand. So I used to get tons of questions of what are your set colors? How can I dress so that I stand out on your set and I look professional? And one of the things I would say is dress on brand. If you're a chef, don't feel uncomfortable. Wear your chef jacket. That's who you are. It's a part of your brand. If you're known for wonderful deep red lenses, eyeglasses, wear them because that's how people are identifying you.
I know. As soon as you said it, I'm like,
yes. And it's a part of who you are. And that's why people are remembering you. And anything that can identify you and bring you above all the noise in social media and other video is something that you want to do. If you're an engineer, if you're an architect, if you're an accountant, you want to make sure that you're dressing polished. If you are on the floor of a factory, 3D printing, etc., and you typically have your suit sleeves pushed up, don't be afraid to have your sleeves pushed up during a video because you're supposed to be sharing people your authentic self. And I think that people get bogged down with, do I need to dye my hair before my video series is done? Do I need to get my eyebrows waxed? Do I need to have professional makeup done? What should I do? And I always say, just take a breath and be you. And don't try to be something that you're not, because that's when you lose people. So I always mention that for men and for females to dress on brand. One thing I'll mention is something that was taught to me from a consultant way back when. And the way that she presented it to me was just great. She said, Michelle, if you're on a deserted island and you could only have 3 pieces of makeup with you, I said to her, I don't need any makeup if I'm on a deserted island. First of all, right. I'll play along. What makeup would you want? Would you want your tweezer, lip gloss, or mascara to look your best on this deserted island? So I know you know the answer to this, Kristin, but just play along with me here. Which one would you choose?
Oh, I'm playing. I would choose my mascara. Thank you very much.
Your eyes look on point today, by the way. They look fantastic.
Thank you for the tips from Michelle Burdo, by the way. And yes, she has a host of wonderful tips that you could go and access on her website. But we're going to come back to this because I want to finish playing this game with you.
Okay. So I said lip gloss because I need to have moisturized lips all the time. I live in Florida. I say that my lips are chapped. My husband thinks I'm crazy, but I always have lip gloss on me. And she said, wrong. I was like, what do you mean wrong? The answer was tweezers. So,
that's right. Okay.
Headline for those of you who would like an actionable tip before you hop on camera is this consultant years ago said, think about how photographs are digitized from the top bottom, right? And think about your face from the top to bottom. And your eyebrows frame the rest of your face. So if you need to get an eyebrow wax, if you feel like you have a unibrow, little things like this, unfortunately, they do matter, especially when we are living in HD and 4K, et cetera, et cetera. So her tip was always make sure to line your eyebrows so that they're even to create that symmetry, because you're always going on symmetry. I mean, she really went deep into how to gain the most symmetry in your face using bronzer and things like that. Because I have a broken nose, and she would say to me, because it literally, and you can see it now, but my nose goes like this, and she worked wonders with shadows and bronzer, and she taught me how to make it more even for broadcast when you're doing the news in a studio. So it's just amazing the tips that you accumulate through these years of going through on-camera stuff in the broadcast world that's now very important in the world that we're living in, because hello, who would have thought COVID 2020, if you don't know how to sell your business on camera, or if you just don't feel comfortable being on camera, then, you know, it really is a detriment to how you move past and stay alive and focused in this new world that's being created for us.
Right, and I think you bring up a really great point, is that we have an opportunity right now to lean into this technology, and it's great to be able to do so with tips that really are something that I have that within my control to go in and put on some eyebrow pencil. I have that within my control to make sure that I'm practicing speaking to someone warmly when I'm looking at a camera. I have that within my control to make sure that I'm practicing and outlining my talking points. And it's making sure that we access resources like you can at michelleburdo.com, which is amazing. I'm so thankful for these tips, and I really hope that everybody who has watched today will take the time to check out Michelle's website and all of the resources. You have a host of short videos with more actionable tips like this. Can you tell us a little bit more about what you have over on the site?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So on the site, I cater to small business owners, entrepreneurs who are just venturing into video, and we talk about how to look good and sound good on camera. And I do have a new product that, it really is about the conversation that we had today and then some. And what I do is Zoom, obviously, or any video conferencing software out there that we've all been pushed into in the past couple of months. A lot of people have felt that angst of, how do I sell via my computer lens? And how do I keep money coming in to my business when I can't go out and do the typical handshake? So what I did was I created a program where you get me alongside you to go through how to present on camera, and we go through everything from how to taking your content. I help write your content. We help create visuals for your content if you're doing, for instance, a sales pitch. And then we teach you how to present that content in video conferencing software, whatever one you may choose. And we go through a back and forth with you're presenting your content to me, I exchange ideas with you, and then we come back again and you do it another time. So I'm really walking you through from beginning to end on how to best present your company and your brand in your home office, which is different.
It's a skill that we all need to learn how to do, and I'm speaking from my own experience, having had the opportunity to work with you, Michelle, and to see the transformation not only in what the end product is, but also how I feel about engaging in the process. Those two things have become invaluable to me, and they're in direct correlation to the training that I've received from you. So I'm incredibly grateful for that. I'm so grateful for our conversation today. Make sure that you check out michelleburdo.com. I'm going to make sure that we have the links posted in the comments and below. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to leave a comment here. Michelle, thanks for coming today, for giving us these wonderful actionable tips. We hope that everybody gets a chance to show up on camera and be clear, concise, and conversational. I love that that's your tagline. Michelle, thank you so much.
Thank you. Again, big air hugs to everybody out there. We're all going to get through this, and we're here for each other.
Absolutely. I really appreciate that and that wonderful collaboration. I'm so grateful for you. Bye-bye.